Hey, it's Flawed Guy yet again. Hopefully y'all checked out the last video about Greece and the Greek Empire, and just wanted to get into today about the Roman Empire and the image that we saw in Daniel chapter 2. Give us a little um, understanding of that, and the fourth beast in Daniel chapter 7. Uh, we're doing the same thing. We're comparing those dreams that came Nebuchadnezzar and the other dream in Daniel chapter 7 about the image of the various metals compared to the beasts in the other dream. And what we hope to get into after today's video is what we talked about, that there would be a future kingdom uh, where the antichrist would come during the tribulation on this earth. It could be in our lifetime. Things could change very quickly. So that's where we're heading with these studies. But today we're just going to focus on the Rome aspect of it, and hopefully y'all will get some understanding about it and make things clear for people who maybe didn't quite understand it. So let's just dive right in again. Appreciate y'all watching the videos, and if y'all could, anybody that's watching them, just pass it on to two of your friends, and then have those two friends do the same thing. Just tell them, hey, tell two more people, and then have those people tell two people. So just tell them to carry it on in that fashion. It's like a geometric progression. So many people could get these videos if each of person that was watching it would just tell two people, and tell those two people to tell two people, and those two people to tell two people, and more people could watch them and maybe hopefully gain some insight on some things. Again, I'm not a pastor or anything. I'm still learning, but it's just something I'm interested in. And, after this particular study, maybe we'll just talk about some everyday stuff again as well. So here we go. So we're going to just start back in Daniel chapter 2, and we're going to go over that image of, the statue made out of the various metals. And Daniel chapter 2, we'll just start basically, I like to back up a little bit. We talked about the Greek Empire, and that was another third kingdom of brass, and this is Daniel 2, verse 39. Another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And we spoke of that in the last video. Greece was we compare that to the other beast. That was the leopard beast in Daniel chapter 7. And we talked about how it would bear rule over all the earth, and it would have dominion, and it would be a very strong empire, which was the case under Alexander the Great, and so on and so forth. And so we'll just continue reading on in verse 40. It says, the fourth kingdom, speaking of this metallic, the dream of the statue made of the various metals, the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. So, if you think of the legs as being iron, most Bible scholars and people believe that this is representative of the Roman Empire, because again, we were learning that Daniel, when he was speaking with Nebuchadnezzar, was explaining this dream, and how Nebuchadnezzar, who was the king of the Babylonian Empire, was the head of gold, and that an inferior kingdom to his, the Babylonian Empire that he reigned over, would come after him, which we studied was the Medo-Persian Empire. And then after that, another kingdom would come, which was Greece, which we talked about in the last video. And again, we're getting to the fourth kingdom, which shall be as strong as iron, which we know the Roman Empire kind of swallowed up, and became a great kingdom after the Greek Empire. So let's just start by reading a little bit about Rome. That's what I like to try to do, is just read a little bit in the Bible. Again, that we can get commentaries and history books out, which is good. But I just kind of want to concentrate, for the sake of these studies, what the Bible says. So if we just read, let's just go to Luke chapter 2, verse 1, and just see what that says about things. And I'll click over to that. Luke chapter 2, verse 1. Let's see what that says. It's talking about, in that chapter, basically about the birth of Jesus Christ. And it says in Luke 1, and it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. So it's just kind of giving you a little backdrop of that Jesus came into a world under the rulership and dominion of, the Roman Empire, because it specifically states, Caesar Augustus. It was in that time frame. Let's see what John chapter 11 says. We'll just maybe glean a little something else. So we'll just go to John chapter 11. Excuse me. And we'll go down to verse 48 and see what that says about it. It's just giving you a little bit of information. It's nice to have. Let's see what it says. Now, this is talking in John, and let's see. It's talking about it's basically the Pharisees and the chief priests and the Pharisees were talking, and they said in John 11, verse 48, if we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. So you have here, in this context of this verse, basically some Jewish rulers worried about their power and their, system that they have in place. And they're worried about this world government, if you will, this power that be that was kind of, ruling over them. They were worried that their nation and their whole system, their power structure, whatever they were worried about, was going to be taken away. So that kind of just gives you an idea of the Roman Empire was in existence, at the time of Jesus. But so for now, we can go back, and we're just going to concentrate more on the aspects of how this relates to the Roman Empire as shown in Daniel chapter 2. Again, it says, the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, as much as iron breaks in pieces and subdues all things. We know that the Roman Empire was a vast empire. It basically surrounded the Mediterranean Sea, large swaths of land and different people groups swallowed up by the Roman Empire, and they were, basically incorporated into it. They had parts of, North Africa and up into Spain and Britain. They took the territories of the Gauls and the Germanic tribes that were, up in, what we consider modern day Germany. So it was a vast empire. It was very strong. You ever watch some of these shows about the Romans and their innovations, the things they built, the great engineering feats that they accomplished? It's just cool to watch. Again, they used a lot of iron tools and implements, which is, I believe, appropriate as far as the description here, it being as iron breaking in pieces and subduing. They had a lot of innovative weaponry and tools made out of iron and things. So it's just kind of neat to look into those things. And so, if you go into some of the aspects of like crucifixion and some of the forms of punishment they had, I mean, it was pretty brutal stuff. I mean, they didn't mess around. So that's kind of where we're at with this description in Daniel 2, verse 40. So we'll just go flip over like we did last time with the Medo-Persian and Greek empires. We'll go over to Daniel chapter 7 and get a little bit more information. It says Daniel had a dream, and again we talked about these four beasts, and we read about the Greek Empire being like a leopard. So I'll back up to that verse. After this, I beheld, this is Daniel 7, verse 6. Another, like a leopard, had on the back of it four wings of a fowl. The beast had four heads, and dominion was given to it. We talked about that being basically the Greek Empire. When Alexander died, his four generals, representative of the four heads on the leopard, basically took over, and vied for power over the Greek Empire amongst themselves. And so now it says after this, so meaning after the Greek Empire, again, we have what I believe to be pretty good proof that there's succession here, showing, that one after the other is showing, just like in the metals in the statue, one after the other. When we get to the iron, we see that this fourth beast is coinciding with the iron legs in the Daniel chapter 2 image. So let's read chapter 7, Daniel 7. After this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, strong exceedingly. It had great iron teeth. Okay, it devoured and broke in pieces, stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Now, what I thought was interesting here, let's just go back and we'll just kind of, it says the fourth kingdom in Daniel chapter 2 was strong as iron. Okay. And flipping back to 7, it says this fourth beast was terrible and strong exceedingly. So you got a description of iron, and this kingdom would be strong in Daniel 2. Flipping back to 7, this fourth beast is strong exceedingly. Okay. Then we go back to 2, and it says, and, sorry. For as much as iron, the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, for as much as iron breaks in pieces and subdues all things. So we have mention of iron and all that kind of stuff. And you go to 7, and it says, strong exceedingly, and had great iron teeth. So there's the mention of the iron again, as in chapter 2. It says, as iron breaks in pieces and subdues all things in chapter 2. We go back to 7, and it says, this beast devoured and broke in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. So we have pretty clear evidence in comparing these two, that it's talking about a strong empire. It has to do with, iron being strong. It breaks apart and subdues things. We go to this beast in chapter 7. It is a strong empire. It's a strong beast. It breaks in pieces. It has iron teeth, and it stamps the residue of it. So if we were to just basically conclude that the Roman Empire, as it, conquered and swallowed up various nations or people groups or whatever existed at the time of the formation of the Roman Empire over hundreds of years or whatever, it was very strong. It had a vast empire, and people say ruled with an iron fist. Well, a historian would be much better able to tell you than I about how the Romans employed their politics and stuff, and their rulership, their authoritarian rule over peoples. But we all pretty much understand that it was a very strong and conquered many different peoples. So let's go on to a little bit more of a description of this empire. Now, we'll read a little bit more about it further in Daniel 7, and starting at verse 17 through 24. Okay, it says, so he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid. Oh, I'm sorry, I got the wrong chapter. Forgive me. I went too far. I was in chapter 8. 17 through 24. These great beasts, which are four kings or kingdoms, which shall arise out of the earth. That's what we're speaking of today in this study. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was different from the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, nails of brass, which devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with his feet, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up. So basically, those descriptions of that fourth beast give a little bit more detail, which I want to get into in the next study, which I alluded to before about being these future kingdom arising out of basically, uh, the territory of the Roman Empire, or out of what, would be a kind of like a revised Roman Empire. Um, but just understand for now that if you compare chapter 2 to chapter 7, the iron with the iron, um, the Roman Empire is represented there. And what's interesting, we talked about how the Medo Persians were the arms of silver in that statue image. The Medes and the Persians, the Mede aspect, the Media and the Persia aspect of it. The same with the legs. If iron is representative of Rome and the Roman Empire, what's interesting about the legs is we know that from history that the Roman Empire, and this, I want to get into this, this is the exciting part about the future and this kingdoms of the antichrist, okay? But we know that the Roman Empire split later into two basic parts, if you will, like the Western and the Eastern. And the Western, being mostly the European countries of like France and Italy, Rome presiding over that side, and the other side of which was more, like Greece and the Byzantine aspect of it, which actually was the stronger, more affluent and rich part of the empire as the empire was in its later stages. So that's what's interesting about the legs of iron there. So I just want to go to another description in chapter 9, okay, of Daniel. Okay. It says in Daniel chapter 9, verse 26, after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself, and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. So, um, we see that that is, I believe, is referring to how after Jesus came and died on the cross and all that, and rose and went back to heaven. There would be, it says here, the prince shall come and destroy the city, Jerusalem, and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. And, I believe that's in reference to, y'all can dive into that even more too, again, about the, destruction of the temple in Jerusalem in around 70 AD by the Romans and stuff. So that's just another historical fact that people can look up, is the fact that it's kind of cool to think about. But Jesus was around during the time of this empire that's spoken of in the book of Daniel, way before Jesus walked on the earth, with his disciples and stuff. So finally, just to kind of end, to give us a little precursor for the future kingdom I was talking about under Antichrist. I just want to go to some of these verses again, just to kind of give us a little bit of where I'm going with it. So I'm going to skip back to Daniel chapter 2. Okay. And I'm going to go to verse 41. Okay. Well, let's start at 40. It says, the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron breaks in pieces and subdues all things. And as iron that breaks all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. So we've already talked about that. That's that fourth kingdom, the metallic iron kingdom in the statue. And it says, and whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. Now, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about there. We spoke about how the Roman Empire was divided, okay, into basically the western and the eastern half, basically divided into two. And so that would mean that one section of the empire has one foot and the other section of the empire has another foot. And if we're to assume that this statue is, you know, anatomically correct human, for a basic normal human, it's logical to assume here that the toes, there would be 10. We all have, 10 fingers and 10 toes. Okay. So it goes on to say, you saw feet and toes, part of potter's clay, part of iron, and the kingdom shall be divided. So I'm going to go on to back to 7 again. Okay, I hope you understand why I'm flipping back and forth from 2 to 7 all the time, to show you the comparison. All right, so back to Daniel 7:7. I saw in the night visions a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, strong exceedingly, had great iron teeth, devoured and broke in pieces, stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was different from all the beasts that were before it. And here's the interesting part at the end of this verse in Daniel 7, verse 7. And it had 10 horns. You go back to Daniel 2, we have an image of what is Rome. It's divided. It says the kingdom is divided, and it was. And it has 2 feet that come out of the iron legs. But these feet are a little bit different. They're not solid iron. It's part iron, part clay, which is what I want to get into. And that'll be the next study, the next video. We got the Roman Empire. Something happens after the Roman Empire. There's another empire coming. And it has something to do with the Roman Empire. And this is where I think a lot of people get kind of confused, and there's a lot of different thoughts on what that is, the European Union and these different things. I've heard all kinds of things since I was a kid, like 7, 8 years old. People today still talk about the European Union, all these different things, the UN and all. Hey, we'll have, future history will show. But I want to get into that in the next video, and I hope you'll, tune in for that and be ready for that. But I'm just showing you the image in Daniel 2. We're at the kingdom of iron, okay? And out of that iron comes these feet, which are part iron, part clay, okay? And it says, that this fourth beast, which we say is Rome as well, is different from all the ones that were before it. Now, that the commentary, it was a little commentary in my Dake's Bible, where he basically said Rome was different from the other kingdoms like Babylon and Medo-Persia and Greece, to the extent that, it started off before the Caesars and stuff, basically like a republican form of government. A lot of our government in this country was based on a lot of the stuff we gathered from Rome and their way of doing things. So in a lot of ways, Rome, they would conquer territories, and then they would allow you to become part of their system, so to speak, their empire. So that is something people can really look into and get into if you want, but it just shows you that it was different from all the other empires that preceded it, that were basically under the leadership of one king or one ultimate general like Alexander or something, general king, or authoritarian leader over the whole thing. That's not basically the way the Roman Empire started. So that's kind of interesting how it was different in that aspect. But what I wanted to get to you today was to show you that there are 10 toes. All right, there's 10 toes on this image of Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel chapter 2. And there just so happens just to be 10 kings Okay, or 10 horns arising out of, uh, it says it was the beast from the beasts that were before, and it had 10 horns. Okay, and if we go on, to read farther in Daniel, it says in Daniel, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all the kingdoms. It shall devour the whole earth and tread it down and break it in pieces. We already discussed all that. And here's the interesting part. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom. Okay. The 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings which shall arise. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to get to. Rome was a mighty empire on this earth. But in these images, we're seeing that in the first, there's some feet that come out of these solid iron legs, but the feet aren't solid iron. So it's not the Roman Empire again. There's something else happening after the world empire of Rome. And we've had, different people. You could say World War II, Hitler was trying to basically revive the Holy Roman Empire and do stuff like that, but we haven't really had a world empire such as that, like we had with Rome in all these years since Rome. And there's 10 toes on those feet. And then we read about these beasts in succession in Daniel chapter 7. And I'm telling you, the traditional view is that those beasts are representative of the metals that we see in Daniel chapter 2. 7 are the beasts. Daniel chapter 2 are the various metals, And God is just using both of these interpretations of dreams to show you how the kingdoms are going to play out on this earth, how mankind is going to deal with, the world and each other over history. And he's showing us that Rome would be a great power, and it would be different from the others that had preceded it. That is, like Babylon, Medo Persia, and the Greeks. But it's saying that there's this other future kingdom that's coming. And that's going to be this kingdom of the feet with the 10 toes on it. And it's going to have iron mixed with clay. That's what those description is. And we'll get into that in the next study. And then it's talking about the beasts, and it's saying that it has 10 horns on it that arise out of this kingdom. Now, I'm just going to read this last bit, and that'll be the end of this study. This is just strictly commentary from the Dake's Bible. I'm just going to read what this gentleman came up with under his studies. I don't claim any of this coming up myself. But it says no revived Roman Empire taught. If as many Bible students teach there will be a revived Roman Empire, meaning those feet with the clay and the iron in it and the 10 toes, some people would teach that would be a revived Roman Empire, like there'd be the same geographical boundaries, or something of similar nature like that in the future. We are to expect only one king over one kingdom formed inside the old Roman Empire territory. This is not what is stated here, though. It is not one horn on the beast symbolizing one king reigning from Rome over one kingdom, as was true of the old Roman Empire, like we read about when in Jesus' time, the Caesar that was mentioned in that particular verse in Luke and whatnot. But this means that there will be a revised Roman Empire, not a revived Roman Empire. I actually agree with this thought. A revision is you make changes to what had already existed. You revise a document, you change it, you X things out, you shuffle things around, and then you come up with some final thing. If after this Roman Empire, we can expect some sort of geopolitical upheavals in the world, even in our modern day or over the past hundreds of years, to get where we are now, where this future Antichrist will arise, okay? And there will be some situation, which I would like to get into in the next couple of studies. I'll just concentrate on that for a couple of studies. What this could mean. But it says here he believed, and this gentleman was back in the late 50s, early 60s. He didn't see what we see now. He said this means there must be another great European, Asiatic, and African war to form 10 future kingdoms out of the 24 present states of the Roman Empire territory. That these 10 kingdoms are yet future and will exist and reign together inside the old Roman Empire territory is clear. So he goes on to give explanations for that. Um, we've seen lots of things change in Europe and Africa, North Africa, and things over the years. Um, I believe there does have to be some sort of geopolitical shifting going on, and there has been a lot of that. Um, Countries that exist now, their borders, were basically made up by people, not so long ago. And so, with the things going on today, with all this, you know, immigrants from Africa flowing into Europe and all these different things going on, I believe that we're setting ourselves up for a situation where we could see a major upheaval in the what we consider normal cultural norms we've seen in Europe and North Africa and the Middle East. And what I think is interesting, and this is just my opinion, okay, I believe that quite possibly, and this is what we'll get into next, just food for thought. If the Roman Empire listed as this beast here in Daniel 7 and the metallic iron in Daniel chapter 2, it says out of this kingdom. Well, something's going to happen, and there's going to be another empire coming in the last days that the antichrist will get control over, and we'll go into that. But it stands to reason that if it's out of the old Roman Empire territories, and there are toes, 5 toes for each section of that territory, and we know that it was divided into the Western and the Eastern or the Byzantine section, that it stands to reason that 5 of these future kings or horns that arise out of this kingdom, this is just my guess here, okay? 5 would come from what would be the western side of that empire, some region. I'm not even going to say country. That could be completely obliterated in the near future and just be a region or a kingdom ruled by, someone. But let's just say it goes back to the ancient empires. What's interesting, and I'll show you a map in the next video, is there were 10 actual regions in the Roman Empire at one point when it had split. And I'll show you that. And it could, again, because of geopolitical upheaval, be that the world decides to uh, create those 10 regions again under the rulership of a zone or some sort of king over that particular region. 5 of those kings would be from the western side, over there, and 5 would be from the Byzantine side, which would be mostly Middle Eastern or Eastern in nature. Countries such as, over there in Syria and Egypt and Turkey versus countries, today that we call like France and Italy and Germany. So it's something to think about, something we'll get into with this future last empire. And we'll study that and how it relates to the Antichrist and God's return. And he smashes all the world empires because he's coming back as a general and he's going to take over this earth. He already owns it, it's his anyway. But he's coming back and he's going to set up his kingdom here. And he's going to rule this world and this earth. And that's what's cool. And that's what's really ultimately the neatest thing. So until that study, just know, go back and forth. Daniel 2, Daniel 7, like we did, and compare these kingdoms and see what you think. And I'm excited to start the next series on these 10 toes and the 10 horns and how it all ties together with this beast that you see in Revelation and how it relates to the end times. So we'll see you then. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.